Welcome to Jumpstart Your Joy, a podcast that looks at the inspiration, intention, and actionable steps to help you jumpstart joy in the world, in your life, and in other people's lives. This is your host, Paula Jenkins. Welcome to episode 203. This week's show is a look back episode where I'm revisiting the interview with Stasia Savasuk, which was the second most downloaded episode of season 4. And I especially love the conversation with Stasia so much because she is a style coach. You will find that she has the most amazing energy, and we just kind of hit it off like maybe we'd known each other before. But what she has to share is really what she calls inside out congruency. And that means making how you feel on the inside match how you present yourself on the outside. A lot of what she learned is from her differently abled daughter, Raisa, and I'm going to let you guys listen to this story because she does such a great job of telling it. It is really beautiful to see how her daughter has taught her so much about how, really making your inside and your outside match and how you can do that with style and fashion and the clothes that we wear. Before we get to that, I want to say hi. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you so much for tuning in this week and always. If you're new, Jumpstart Your Joy is a podcast that it comes out every week, and I have just finished up season 4. This is a great time to catch up with past episodes. You can binge your heart out for 202 past episodes. If you want an easy way to kind of sink your teeth in to what the show is about, go to jumpstartyourjoy.com/final 4, the number 4, and that will give you the full rundown of the top 10 episodes of this last season. It's a great place to kind of get your feet wet. But if you want to find out more about the show itself, you can go to jumpstartyourjoy.com. That's the website. And the show notes for this episode, where I link up to the information that Stasia shares and where you can find her style school, you can find that at jumpstartyourjoy.com/Stasia. While you're there, be sure and sign up for my newsletter, which comes out every Thursday, and it is called 3 Things Thursday. And what I talk about in that is the inspiration, intention, and action that you can take based on some of the conversation that has happened in the week's episode. So this week, we'll be looking at that inside out congruency. And I love diving in and having a different way to kind of interact with some of you guys if you want to share your thoughts or just hear what else I'm thinking about as far as the conversation goes with a guest. It's a lot of fun to be able to interact with you all. So that is on the website, and you can find it jumpstartyourjoy.com/Stasia. There'll be a sign up form at the very bottom of that page. So let's just jump right on in with this really fun conversation with Stasia. Welcome to the show, Stasia.
Thank you so much, Paula. I'm happy to be here.
Yay! The first thing that I ask everybody is, will you tell us about what you loved most as a child or in school? What were your earliest sparks of joy?
My earliest sparks of joy. What I loved the most as a kid, which is funny because I lost it for a long time, probably in my teens and 20s, was hiking, being outside, being in the woods or in the mountains, or with my hands in the dirt, collecting night crawlers so I could sell them and go fishing. And that gritty, dirty, earthy, outdoorsy stuff is what I loved as a kid. That's what I loved. And then I broke up with it for a long, long time and then have found my way back, which is great. But I loved all those outdoorsy, dirty things when I was little, for sure.
I love that, especially the night crawlers. Like, that's such a visual. We used to dig. I live in California now, but we used to go fishing and we would dig the night crawlers before we went. It's really an event. It's fun.
It is fun. Well, it was my first business as an entrepreneur, was selling worms, Stasia's worms, like 11 years old. And it was my first business. I grew up in Maine. And what I would do is I would wet the lawn in the afternoon. I don't know if it's a New England thing, but we'd call it jacking. Yeah. I don't know. Like, is this a thing? Like, we'd go jacking, except we'd say it with a Maine accent. We'd go jacking, and I had like a big thing where I would collect my worms, and then I had signs up all over town, Stasia's worms, and people would come and buy worms from me, 50 cents a dozen. I loved it. It was great.
So amazing. Not every entrepreneur comes on and has a story. There's a lot of entrepreneurs on the show, And not everybody has a story of how they kind of followed this thing as a kid. And I love that you're saying this. I had a mouse business where I would breed mice and sell them to the local pet store. And oh my goodness, I just love this. I love the worm business so much. It's so good.
I didn't know that I was going to have a life as an entrepreneur. That didn't happen until I was 40.
Yeah. Right.
And I was really good at it because there weren't a lot of girl worm sellers 40 years ago. So I kind of had a niche in the business where all the fishermen, that there was a girl that did it and it wasn't just a boy business, it was a girl business. So I think that was kind of cool too.
It is cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I'll say the same thing. If there's kids listening that need a business, not a lot of girls are selling, little mice to the pet store either. Probably. So great. I love it. And of course, you do something very different now. Could you tell us
a little bit,
a little bit different? What is your current business?
I have upgraded to humans. I work with women. What I do now is I run an online style school for women, but it's the kind of style school where 10% about the clothes and 90% about who you are and how you want to show up in the world. So we talk about the clothes, but we talk about the clothes as a tool to accessing your greatest strength, your soul fire, your power, your groundedness, your everything that's fabulous about you. We use clothes as a way to access that every single day. So I don't do worms, but I do like women's empowerment, how to stand into who you are, who you're meant to be. And that's the work that I do now. And it's awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah. And it's interesting because the kind of angle on this, it feels, hopefully this is okay to say, it feels a little Doreen Roth. Like it's not about the food, AKA it's not about the clothes. It is, but it's not.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's what people come into style school and they're like, I thought this was going to be about the clothes. And I'm like, I told you it wasn't. Why didn't you believe me? But oftentimes it's hard to imagine that there could be a style school where the clothes are not the primary focus. They are, but they're not. We use them as a tool to access something greater, right? We do a lot of work with the negative voices inside our heads that say we can't. Because how many women have amazing things in their closets, but they don't dare to wear them because they don't think they can pull it off? That's the kind of stuff we work past, right? So it's about the clothes, but it's not really about the clothes. So often it's about overcoming shame. Specifically body shame. Holy buckets, that's a pile of worms right there. There's so much, you know what I mean? There's so much that we work through, and it's sort of, I could sort of sum up style school. The work we do is navigating your way between not being enough and being too much, right? So that's the thing that we as women, mostly we like, this is what I hear. I say, oh, I'm just, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not whatever enough. Or, oh, I feel like I'm being too much. It would be too much if I did this. I'm too much. My voice is too loud. You know what I mean? It's like we're always caught between not enough and too much. And so it's navigating those two voices and finding our place where we are enough and we're not too much. So it's sort of satisfying both. But there's a lot of negative voices going on inside our heads that like to paralyze us. So style school is about navigating our way through those voices and wearing the clothes and showing up in the world the way that we're meant to do it. Right?
Oh, yeah. Many people listening know, but I'm super short. So I'm 4'10". I feel like there was so many, and I think you even say this maybe in maybe it's in your TED Talk, that it felt like there's so many rules back in even high school or probably earlier too, where here's what we wear. It's almost Mean Girls in a way. This is what we wear, and we wear pink on Wednesdays or whatever. But I felt like I never knew all the rules for sure. And then you try and put that on a body that, I mean, there's not a lot of models in any window that are 4'10". So
no.
Yeah. So how do you and your students, how do you start to break down, whether it's shame or just a deep misunderstanding of what we're supposed to be wearing?
I feel like my job is to call out the lies all the time. Okay, where did this come from and who told you this was true? Does it even make any sense? Most of it just doesn't make any sense ever. I think there are all those rules out there and they're made up by somebody. But if we sat and tried to find where they came from, we tried to discover who made them up and do they have any authority over how we show up in the world, you'd realize it's all a bunch of nonsense, most of it designed to keep us small or to keep us turning into consumers because the rules change and then you need new things. And, it's constantly putting you in that place of not enough or too much.
Yes.
I mean, everybody has a thing. I'm too tall. My boobs are too big. My boobs are too small. I'm too short. I'm too wide. I'm too narrow. For everything that there is, there's a counter thing that's just as debilitating for somebody. If it's my body's not good enough, my body's too perfect, so I have to hide it because I don't want to be insulting to anybody. Well, yeah, it's like no matter what, same fits. It's the only thing in the whole wide clothing industry that is one size fits all.
Right.
There are no tights that are one size fits all. That's nonsense that even they would put that on a tag. That's crazy. But shame is an equal opportunity thing that everybody experiences. And once you start to see that, and then you begin to realize it's all shit.
Yeah. I know you mentioned that some of it's the industry. They want us to stay in a place where we're kind of questioning ourselves maybe. But where or how do we start breaking down maybe that imprint of you are too much or you're not enough? Like how do we dive in and break that down?
Well, it's big work for one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's big work. It's not something that really happens overnight. And I think it starts with the beginning, sort of like a new way of framing things up in your mind. And then it lasts your whole damn life. It's a journey, being able to stay true to yourself, because as we grow, as we mature, as we become more of ourselves, we require more of ourselves, right? So it's this constant coming back and checking in with ourselves. And I think the way that I do that is by keeping my fingers on the pulse of who am I? Those are the three most important words. Who am I? And oftentimes I'll say to somebody in conversation, who are you? Well, I'm a mom and I'm a this, I'm a that. I go, oh, okay, that's nice. Those are your roles, but I want to know who you are. Way down deep on the inside, who are you? If we can connect to that, then 4'10", 6'2", 122 pounds, 200, none of that matters when we are thinking about our essence, our soul fire, that, place inside us that is our truth and our most honest selves. And so in my work, in the way that I work with women, is the only thing that actually matters is who you are and how you choose to show up in the world. And you can be 4'10" and just be a full of life, vibrant, energetic, effervescent person that takes up so much space with your presence, right? Even though you may be petite, right? So I think the size of our bodies and how tall we are and how short we are and how big we are, none of that actually matters. There are some logistical things that we work on in style school, collecting your body's data and learning to dress your body in a way that makes sense, thinking about geometry and physics. Let's make it make sense, but we don't need to put all this stuff onto it that doesn't really matter. There aren't really any rules that you actually need to follow based on because you're this tall, you have to do this, or because you're this weigh this much, you have to do this. That's all nonsense. Let's break it down to the science of dressing your body. And think of your body as something where you collect its data, and then you look at the clothes and you look at the data and you make sure that there's cohesion between them, right? That they're not fighting each other, which happens so often with women as we put clothes in our bodies that don't match our data. And then things get all bunged up and they don't fit us well, right? So if we just can find the clothes that match the data, put that together, and then let go of all those rules, and nobody actually knows the rules and what are the rules and which box am I supposed to fit into? And I don't know, I can't figure it out. Yeah. Let all that nonsense go. The only thing that you need to pay attention to is who are you? And then you buy clothes that fit your body, that fit your body's data, but that's a fit thing. The soul fire thing comes into you wearing whatever it is that you want to wear. Doesn't matter your size. I heard you're less than 5 feet tall, you can't wear stripes or something like that. That is the most ridiculous thing.
That's the load.
Right? Like it just doesn't make sense. Really? If you love stripes and they make you feel fantastic, that's not something you need to follow, right? You know what I mean? There's so many of those kind of rules, and they handcuff us and they paralyze us because we think somebody knows better than we do, so we better follow the rules. And they're mostly just not that helpful.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do wear stripes. I mean, stripes are going to cut anybody. They're going to break your line whatever way you go. So I don't think that's special for a short person.
Sometimes I'll talk about the guidelines. So anytime you wear a horizontal line, it's going to break the vertical line. Yes, this is true. But anytime you do one thing, you can counteract it with something else, right? I have short legs and a long torso. So if I want to wear a stripy skirt at the bottom, I'm going to wear a shoe. I'm going to wear my clogs because they give me a little 1-inch lift. So I've just counteracted the stripe cuttingness.
Yes, I love it.
That horizontal line by adding a little lift to my shoe and bringing my waistline up. So I'm going to wear a cropped denim jacket instead of a long denim jacket so that I elongate. Everything you can do something the opposite to override it, right?
You just cracked open a thing for me because I have a long torso.
Right, short legs.
And short legs.
Yeah.
And for being short, that's why I don't like to wear a short top because I feel like it cuts me weird.
There can be guidelines for how to dress your shape, right? And somebody can do, I'm going to throw air quotes around wrong, 12 wrong things, and it can make them look shorter than they actually are. Or you can do 3 of those wrong things, wrong, again, I'm throwing air quotes, but do 7 things to counterbalance those things, and you just completely cancel them out and you were rocking the hell out of them. Right?
Yes.
So it's everything. For every reaction, there's a counter reaction, and you can do that with your clothes. And it's not hard once you start to pay attention. Your intuition will tell you exactly what you need to do. I can give you all the did it, like, here's a sheet and this is what you do for your body. But that's not actually helpful because in 5 minutes, you're going to either lose weight or gain weight, or your butt's going to sag or like your body's going to change, right? Because that's what bodies do. So we never want to memorize what's right. Like, tell me the rules and exactly how to follow them. I refuse to do that in style school. I won't do that for anybody. What I say is, you tell me what you wish were different about what you're wearing, and then tell me how you're going to. And there's not a person that can't do it. Right. Once you pay attention, it's so easy to say, oh, well, my legs look a little short. If I put my clogs on instead of my Birkenstocks, it would totally change it. Look at you, smarty pants. You know, right? Everybody knows if we take the time to pay attention to it. You kind of get a little crazy obsessed. Like, okay, I got to pay attention until you start to understand it. And then you're learning to bake bread and you have to spend all the time with the ingredients to figure out how it works. And then you just know how to do it.
Yep.
This is the same way. Dressing your body is the same way. You kind of have to get super into it, pay attention, study it. And then once it starts to click, you're like, oh, I got it. But I had to put in a little effort. And we think we shouldn't have to put in effort, but we do. But once you understand the concepts of balance and proportion, no matter what happens to your body, you can adjust.
It makes perfect sense to me. And I do love what you're saying about putting in that little bit, trusting your gut and understanding hey, if I think that's pretty, then just go with it instead of saying, but nobody else is wearing this fuchsia. I'm thinking of a fuchsia dress, but nobody else is wearing it. Well, who cares? Do I feel pretty? That's important. And I'm also thinking when it's made for somebody of a different size, likely, I should just go ahead and, move the little guides that would be where my waist should go up a little because that's going to help me out immensely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know why I'm not trusting that. Why haven't I trusted it with that specific dress?
We don't. And then there's all the blame your body. In many ways, the clothing industry is in a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of scenario. Because, just look around at your social circle. How many of the women have exactly the same body? Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. But we all think we should be able to walk into the Gap and buy the clothes off the shelf.
Right. And it's just not going to work.
It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. And Gap might sell 5 different styles of jeans, maybe 7 in the store and more online. But all of these women are going to walk into the Gap, try on jeans, and only one of them is going to be successful out of maybe 100. And then we go, oh, my body, I can't even buy Gap jeans. Of course you can't. Like, I always think of it as how many people are on the planet? It's almost 8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
That's 8 billion different bodies. And we think that it, like, one store can accommodate all of us. It's impossible.
Right.
But we blame our bodies. We don't think about the fact that there's no way one brand can accommodate all the people. Just think about a belly and a butt and a rise, right? Like, there can be 7 bajillion ways to have a belly and a butt. And you know what I mean?
And they're not all going to fit the same pants.
They're not
or not well.
Right. They're not all, because, somebody can be a little belly, bigger butt, or big belly, little butt. And the fabric's going to be in the wrong place. And the rise isn't going to be right. And it's going to pinch somebody's crotch. And the other one's going to have like crotch hanging down to their knees. And there's so much nuance in our amazing, incredible women's bodies. But we think we should all be able to buy jeans on the first try. Don't even talk to me about your jean shopping, about how unsuccessful you've been, until you have tried on between 75 and 100 pairs. Then come to me with your woes. But until you've tried on 75 pairs of jeans, you haven't even started the journey. You know what I mean? And this is why I don't mostly wear pants, because they're really hard. There's like
pants are really hard.
Crotch. That's a whole lot of physics that has to come into place there to make that work.
I hadn't even thought about that algorithm of it's kind of like the triangle of a kitchen. Like, you got to get that right. Like the sink, stove, refrigerator.
It's like,
except in your pants.
This is why I wear dresses most of the time, because I don't have to deal with that that magical triangle of
size.
Like, it's too many things. But this is why clothes are hard, because our bodies are hard, and there's so much value in some ways, like finding the brand that works for you. And it may only be one, right? It may only be 1 or 2 brands that work for you, but we instead get mad. We keep going to Old Navy, even though Old Navy doesn't fit us. And then we get pissed at our bodies. Old Navy just isn't your brand. Maybe Target will work for you. Maybe J. Crew will. Maybe Gap. Maybe Banana Republic will. Maybe something at JCPenney. Maybe something at Walmart will. Who knows? It doesn't matter as long as it fits your body, But I don't think we give ourselves enough of a chance to find the clothes that fit us. And we don't understand our bodies, and we don't understand our data, and we don't understand our silhouettes. And then we keep trying to put the wrong things on our bodies, and then we blame our bodies. And it's just...
And it just spirals on us. Because we feel like it's us, and it's not the clothes.
It's not you, it's the clothes. And you just have to find the right clothes for your body. And is it easy?
No.
I'm not going to trick you and say it is. But once you hone in on what works, shopping gets wicked fast, right? Like, I can shop a dress rack in 5 minutes because I know what silhouette works for me. So I can visually eliminate 95% of what's on a rack. I know it's not going to work on my shape, because I've done the work. So I put the work in up front. And then in the end, it's simple, because I know what's going to work, and I don't have to go into a fitting room with 5,000 things and feel disappointed. I can go with 3 things that I think have a good chance of working on my body. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's super powerful. And it also kind of gets rid of the, I'll say fast food shopping, because it does feel like I'll wander into Old Navy and do exactly what you said. And Target's often the same way for me, because I just don't have petites. And then I bring home this stuff and it doesn't fit.
Right.
And then it's either you wear it and it doesn't feel great on you, or you take it back. Yeah, it's a bad spiral to be in, for sure.
Or you forget to take it back, and then you're stuck with it. And then you've got all these clothes in your closet with tags on them, and you feel committed to them. And then you say, well, I might as well wear them even if they don't fit well. And then you wear them, and then you don't feel good in your body, and you blame your body, not the clothes.
Yes. Oh, you know the cycle for sure.
I know the cycle. I lived the cycle for a long time. And if we would have had this conversation, which we wouldn't have 6 years ago, because I was wearing beige cropped yoga pants at the time.
The beige stage. When you were in the beige stage, how did you navigate your own way out? Was there something that jarred you out of it, or was it a realization of sorts?
It was a process of things. It was sort of like a series of things that happened that sort of culminated on this one specific day. And I'll give you a little backstory. So when I had my first child, so she's 12 now. So it was about 12 years ago. I had completely broken up a style. I had broken up a style for probably 15 years before. So it's kind of a disaster all the time. Like, you're like, oh my God, I have to go to a wedding. And you cry, can't find anything to wear.
Yeah. And everything comes out of the closet and it's all on the bed and nothing fits.
And nothing fits and everything makes you feel bad and you cry and then you go shopping and you try on all the wrong things and then you cry some more and then you cry in the fitting room. That was pretty much my life. And then when my daughter was born, she had a number of, medical issues. So I became a special needs mama and wasn't able to go back to work. And one of the things that I did when I was home with her to sort of manage my sanity, because we were busy with a lot of things. She had a lot of medical stuff going on. So we would average between 4 to 9 medical appointments a week when she was little. Yeah. Which is pretty intense.
That is intense. Yeah.
It's pretty intense. And a lot of, 4 of them were weekly with the different therapists that we saw, PT, OT, SLP, developmental therapy, like that kind of stuff. And then there were all the extras and the trips to Boston. I live in Vermont and every specialist under the sun, the surgeries. I mean, it was just so much that one of the things that I did for my sanity was walk. And I would put her in her buggy, her little stroller, and I'd walk. And there was a thrift store on my route. And so I would pop into the thrift store and I had to quit my job because I had to be home with this new baby that required so much care. And my husband was in grad school. So he was in grad school. He was working part-time at night. Now I wasn't working. We were broke, broke beyond broke. And so I would go into a thrift store and I hadn't been a thrifter before that. But it was sort of like, I live in this little tiny town in Vermont. And so it was like the clothes store in town pretty much. So I would go in and I would do retail therapy and I would buy stuff at the thrift store. And I would buy things that I never bought before because I never could afford them. And I would find J. Crew or Patagonia. I got to start experimenting with all these different brands. And I mean, I couldn't believe it. Everything was $3, $4. So we could afford to shop there. Right. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. And then I would notice my background is in science. I went to school in science and biology. And so I have sort of like a little sciencey brain. And I would wear things and I would start to pay attention how on one day I would feel like I had the perfect body. Like, oh my God, everything, I feel so good. And the next day I would hate my body and be like, wait a minute. What kind of madness is happening here? How can I hate my body on a Monday, but think my body rocks on a Tuesday? Yeah. My body didn't change between Monday and Tuesday. The clothes did. Yeah. Right. So then I started like, what is that? And I had nothing else to put my brain into because I was momming like 1 bazillion%. That's all I did. I didn't have any friendships. I mean, I was just in the parenting thing, hardcore, special needs momming, like mega. So this is where I allowed my my brain to wander, was the mystery of why I feel good on Monday, but not on Tuesday. So I just started playing around with it and noticing that when I wore certain things, I was a better advocate when I went into hospital rooms, right? Yeah. I was standing more in my power, and other days I would be more intimidated. And starting to break this down and being like, what is happening, and realizing it was the clothes. So there started my journey of like, when I wear this, this happens. When I wear this happens. What is going on? Right. It never even occurred to me that my clothes could make me feel a certain way. I had never paid attention to it before, but I was so before children, before my first, I was like life, busy. What I wear was never on my radar, but that was all I had left. Like the only thing I did for myself every day was get dressed. I had nothing else. I was so committed to her, right? That I had nothing else that was mine. So there started that process. That's how it started for me. And then, and if you've seen my TEDx talk, you know, part of the story is because she was born, I have this super high needs kid who has physical differences. She has craniofacial differences and limb differences, plus about 1 million other differences. And so as a mother of a child with special needs who looks different than other kids, I was really like, my mission in life became, how will I make sure that she fits in?
Right.
Because just what you and I talked about, we're like typically developed, we've got typical things, and we still couldn't figure out the rules. Right. And we were just regular people. So and I was like, I'm just a regular person and I could never figure out the rules. I'll be damned if my kid doesn't know the rules of how to fit in, right? She's already got so many things against her. I have to figure this out for her so that nobody figured this out for me. I'm going to figure this out for her. I'm going to make sure that she fits in. I went all in on that. And my strategy was to make sure that she always had the cutest outfits. And it sounds a little bit crazy, but it was like, that was a thing that I could do. Her hair was always cute with the matching barrettes and the cute dresses with the little matchy panties, or boot cut jeans and t-shirts with cap sleeves that were super cute, and little designer sneakers. We were broke, but she had all the things to make sure that she was cute, and people would, oh, she's so, you know what I mean? Like, that was my way.
It makes so much sense to me. I mean, my son was born developmentally normal, but was in the NICU for a week, and he had, respiratory stuff. And I had this thing where I was like, I kept seeing him in the onesie or whatever they put him in, and I thought, I want him to look like a baby that's going home. So I put him in clothes that was like, he's dressed to go. So I think it's probably a similar mommy thing of like, I want this child to be seen as the child that they are and can be. Like, here's all their potential for where they're going.
Totally.
And putting that on them in a way that's so loving. And it was an act of advocacy that I saw for myself, was like, this is one of the very few things I can control about his world right now. And so I'm going to. Like, here you go. Here's your clothes. Yeah. So I totally get it. Yeah.
So you get it. Well, turns out I didn't do it right. Turns out that was a bad strategy for me. So, and, as she grew and sort of grew into herself a little bit, starting around 2 or 3, she started really arguing with me about the clothes that I was putting on her. And it went and it went and it went and it went. And she just wouldn't, she just hated everything that touched on anything feminine. She hated it. She wanted to wear, I'm going to throw up the air quotes just so it's super clear, boy clothes. She wanted to wear boy clothes. That's what she wanted to wear. And I was so resistant to it, because my way of making sure that she fit in was to put her in the cute girl clothes. To put her in boy clothes was going to make sure she further didn't fit in. And I couldn't do it. And my resistance to it was unbelievable. We would fight. And it's almost ridiculous. Like, somebody would be like, what do you mean? You just let your kids wear whatever they want to wear. I did with my second kid, but there were different stakes here, right? There were different stakes here with me making sure that she was going to find her place in the world. And so I was trying to force it on her. And so we argued about it. We fought about it. It was like this major conflict in our life together. I mean, fight. She would go to the babysitter's house, and every time she would come home and the sun's closed, and I would be like, why is this happening? Why are you letting her wear it? She's like, because she likes it. And I'm like, but no, this is where things kind of come together, right? Like, I'm on my journey. When I wear certain clothes, I feel happy. Other clothes make me feel miserable. And now my kid is on this journey. When she wears certain clothes, she's happy. When she wears certain clothes, she's miserable. And I'm saying to her, this strategy works for me, but it doesn't work for you. Right? So I was a little short-sighted. And a little bit. And then
kids are such amazing teachers.
I mean, absolutely. And then, the moment where everything shifted was when she and I were at the thrift store, and she wanted me to buy her a button-down shirt and then a necktie. A necktie. Oh my God. It was terrible. I couldn't believe the audacity. And I said no. And then she was like, well, she's a pretty stubborn little kid. And so she went up to the counter. She's 5 years old. She goes up to the counter at the thrift store and was like, can somebody here help me? Because my mother won't find me a shirt and necktie. And so one of the staff went off with her to find a shirt and necktie in the kids department. And I was like, fine, you go ahead. Go ahead and see what you can find. And so they came back to me and they brought me the shirt and tie. I wasn't going to buy it. But then the lady gave me a look that showed me that I had to buy it. I didn't have a choice. She was like, what do you mean you're not going to buy it? It's $3. So I bought the shirt and tie. And I was like, it's just going to disappear in the night. Like, there's no way this is going to be a thing in my family. It's not going to happen. But as soon as we got home, Raisa put on the shirt and the necktie, and she looked in the mirror. She took her own breath away. And it was like, she looked in the mirror and did one of those like she lost her breath when she saw herself in the shirt and necktie.
Yeah.
And she said, Mama, look how handsome I look. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't pretty. It was handsome. Right. And then she runs across the living room and says, Mama, look how much faster I can run. And then she jumps up and down and says, Mama, look how much higher I can jump when I'm wearing a shirt and tie. And that became the thing. She can run faster and jump higher when she was wearing clothes on the outside that matched who she was on the inside.
There's so much joy in that.
So much joy and so much. And when you look at it big picture, here I am. She's telling me this is who I am. And I'm saying, no, it's not. This is who you are. So I'm teaching her to not trust her own intuition. I'm teaching her that she's perfect just the way she is, as long as she fits in. And she already doesn't fit in because she does look different than other people. So I'm compromising her right off the get-go with my messaging. And I'm taking away her ability to advocate for herself on solid ground. So if she were wearing, as a 12-year-old kid nowadays, a dress that I was still forcing her to wear, which like the thought of it is just crazy for me, and somebody were to make fun of her.
Yeah.
My messaging over all these years would have been, you're not good enough the way you are. You have to pretend to be somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
And so I was compromising her own ability to be a self-advocate. That's what if you would have asked me all those years ago, what's my number one wish for her? It would be for her to be able to stick up and stand up for herself. But at the same time, I'm stripping away everything that makes her, I'm stripping away all of her tools that she has to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So now she wears, again, throwing the air quotes, because we don't actually use this language in our house, boy clothes and girl clothes. We just use clothes, right? So, but for the listener, boy clothes, like that's what she wears.
We're not in a visual medium here. Yes.
So she wears boy clothes, and she knows who she is, and people will pick on her because of her four-fingered hand, or because she wears hearing aids, or because of other things. And she's always just like, I wonder what their problem is. They must be having a bad day. Like, this obviously has nothing to do with me because I'm awesome. And it was her teaching me the power of congruency. I was starting to get it with my own, like, on Monday I feel great, on Tuesday I don't, and starting to put it together. But I didn't understand the gravity of it. I didn't understand how powerful it was in terms of not just, it transcends fitting in, which is what I thought my whole life was about, was trying to figure out my place in the world, on where I could fit, instead of determining where I belong. And I get to make that call. Fitting in, you're waiting on somebody else to decide for you. Belonging, you get to make that call. So it occurred to me that as women, we spend way too much time trying to fit in, trying to figure out the rules. Nobody ever taught me. My mother didn't teach me. My sister didn't teach me. I didn't read the right magazines. The magazines didn't work for me. My body's not the right body. All that stuff is nonsense. It's all shit. It's not applicable, right? We're really, the only thing we have to do is say, who am I on the inside? And how can I reflect that on the outside? Because that's the congruency. And that's the missing piece. And we keep being directed towards everything outside of us. Catalogs, Pinterest, fancy Instagram feeds. That's not where the answer lies. Any question that you have about style, the answer is inside of you.
Yeah, you just have to trust that you know it.
And that's like one of my things I say all the time in style school. So many people will ask me a question, and my response back is, know what you know. Trust it.
Yeah.
You just have to trust it. And you might know it, but not fully want to go there because it's a little scary to know what you know, right? That's scary.
And own it. Yeah, for sure.
Own it. It's wicked scary. So you kind of do it halfway, but it doesn't work. And you're like, see, told you. I'm like, yeah, but you only did it halfway. You didn't go 100%. It doesn't work unless you go 100%, right? So it's that process of trusting yourself and fully stepping into yourself, which is scary because it's vulnerable, because you're putting it all out there for people to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's scary, but that's where the magic happens, right? And that's when what I think so often we try to project our sort of our lack of confidence on what it would feel like to us if somebody said something to us in that state, but we're imagining it from our current place, not from that place of truth, right?
Yeah.
Like Raisa, when she's standing there in her bow tie, in her button-down shirt, totally rocking it, when somebody says something to her, she's like, whatevs.
Yeah,
you know?
It's water off a duck's back. This is who I am. Yeah, I'm confident.
But if you were imagining somebody saying something to you from your current place of hurt and sort of almost believing that what those people are saying about you are true because you don't, because you're in that place still, then it does hurt. And the thought of it hurts, right? So you hide, so you never get those comments. But what you're not realizing is that those comments won't hurt as much when you're standing in that place of connection and groundedness. You know, getting over that hump is scary because when you show up, people do say stuff. People notice. You will be noticed.
You're going to be all of yourself, and that might be too much for someone. But when you know it's just you, and if that's who you really are, then you can let go of the weird comments you might get from others.
Right. And they do come. I mean, I'm in that place right now where the comments are like, they're like zing at me like 900 miles an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's nice to be in a place now where they always sting a little bit, right? And they become a voice that I have to dismiss. It just happened like 2 weeks ago. I posted a photo of myself on Instagram. That's where I hang out a lot. And I posted a photo of myself in a bikini because I'm 44 years old, like wearing a bikini for the first time. And I love it.
Yeah.
And somebody wrote on my feed that they were giving me some helpful advice that my bikini days were over.
Ugh.
Can you imagine saying that to another woman?
No. We all have a beach body. I'm beach ready right now.
But, you know, when it stung a little bit and I was like, my bikini day's over. And then I was like, no, she's cranky. But she's mad about something. It has nothing to do with me because I think I look pretty damn good. And I don't care, I got the stretch marks and the cellulite, but who cares? That's just stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I fully agree. And this body is the only one we get.
Yes.
You can't redo this one.
You can't. And one of the things I will often say is I spent a lifetime trying to change my body. And I couldn't change it. But what was easier to change was my mind, right?
I love that.
I can change my mind about what beauty looks like. I had a very narrow definition of beauty in my mind. And it was something along the lines of a Victoria's Secret model or whatever the industry had put in my mind. I believed that to be the one and only true definition of beauty. My body doesn't fit that. Right? So it's taken work, but it's taken a hell of a lot less work than it would take for me to change my body, to turn it. Like I'm 5'7". I will never be 5'11". What the efforts that I would have to take to turn myself into a 5'11" body would be pretty significant. I would have to grow bones. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to do that. So what I learned is that I could actually change my brain and redefine beauty. I never thought that was possible. And it is possible. We can redefine beauty. We can look and see beauty where we never saw it before if we begin that process of retraining our brains and taking away all the stuff that helped us define what we thought beauty was to begin with. Right? Beauty was, was tiny waist and I'm going to say big tits, like, and a big ass, like whatever. Yeah. Like this is what we thought. And then I go, wait a minute. I've seen plenty of women that have bodies like that are unkind. They're not friendly. They're not grounded. They're not vibrant. So really, it's not the body that's beautiful. It's the soul of a person and how they wear it, right? It's how they stand in their body. It's how they hold their body. It's when they walk out in their bathing suit. I don't care what their body looks like. If their eyes are forward and their shoulders are back and they're walking with confidence, that is the sexiest woman on the beach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She is the one that is, and I don't mean sexy in a I'm doing this to get the attention of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, like in a sexual kind of way. I mean it in a collective femininity, collective woman, collective like
power and owning yourself and exuding that kind of confidence that draws others to you because of the confidence alone. Yeah, that for sure is sexy.
It's so incredibly beautiful. And I just came back from Mexico. I led a couple of women's retreats there, and they were bikini retreats. And it was funny because I would be like, oh, I'm leading some retreats in Mexico. What kind of retreats? Bikini retreats. Oh, exercise retreats? I'm like, hell no, we don't exercise.
Oh, no. We're wearing bikinis.
We're just wearing bikinis, eating all the guacamole we want to eat all day long is what we're doing, right? Like it was just women being in their bodies and owning their bodies and walking down the beach and just being in your body and just allowing that to be what it was. So we weren't caught up in our brains. Oh my God, how am I crossing my legs? I need to sit up. If I bend over, I don't know, all that shit that goes through your mind when you're wearing a bathing suit because you feel totally exposed.
Yes.
What if you could wear a bathing suit and forget?
And without that monologue, without the inner critic popping in and reminding me. Yeah. Well, that would be life-changing for sure.
It would be life-changing because that inner critic disconnects you from your life, right? Yeah. It's disconnecting. When I'm with my family, I don't want to be paralyzed by my brain, and not being able to engage. Like life is about connection. And that inner critic, that voice, I call them giblets. Those giblets are just there to leave you disconnected and isolated and alone and feeling like you're not enough or too much, right? So if we can override that with raw, gritty connection to self, just like pure, unadulterated self-love.
Yeah.
The magic and the connection and the camaraderie and the beauty that happens in that space is unbelievable.
I can only imagine. I mean, those retreats, there's pictures I know on Instagram of some of y'all on some rocks. And the power of that. And it's just beautiful. Like, these are people that know themselves and love themselves. And that's the thing that shines through. It's amazing.
And we're all women of different sizes. Like all of our bodies are very different. And like, it's just beauty. There is no one body on the rock that looks more beautiful than the other. You just look and see collective beauty because it's power. It's women standing in their bodies. And there's so much, it's just that image blows my mind. It's so good.
It's gorgeous. It really is gorgeous. I'll put a link over to your feed if people are like, I got to see this because it's breathtaking. I mean, it is that kind of a moment where it's like, those are some powerful, beautiful women.
Yeah, absolutely. And what makes them beautiful is that they're like these divinely brilliant, connected, comfortable in their bodies women. That's, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, it exudes that power. Yeah, it's really, it's a good one. It's amazing. Yeah,
it's a total gem.
If somebody is like, oh my gosh, I got to get myself into that space and I want to go on a bikini retreat with you, how do people find where you're at?
Well, I can be found on my website, which they will have to click in the show notes because nobody will be able to spell it. We've already been through this.
It'll be there.
My name, my website is stasiasavasuk.com. But again, it's difficult to spell. But so that's where I hang out. That's where all my stuff is. And then mostly where I like have all my fun is on Instagram. Because I love Instagram. Awesome. Yes. And then I have a Facebook business page as well. So those are sort of the places that I hang out. Up until now, the way that the bikini retreats are is you have to be a style school alum to be able to have access to them. So, and it's because we do a lot of the pre-work.
Sure. To show up and be that person.
But it's
comfort and beauty.
Absolutely. In style school, we do the work with our clothes on. And that's still like level 1, get comfortable with your clothes on. Once you're good, then we go to level 2, take all your clothes off. Right? Yeah. So it's almost like starting over, and it re-triggers a lot of those things that you sort of had moved past when you have the clothes on your body. You know what I mean? So, it's been something that, so I've done them for 2 years, and it's style school alum, and they're popular. And when I offer them, they just sell out in like 5 seconds because
so awesome.
They're awesome and people want to do it. Right. So that's how that works. And same thing if anybody's interested in style school.
Are you running it again in April? Did I see that? Awesome.
Yeah. So I'll be running the next session in April, and then I'm not doing it again until September. So
oh my word.
I know. And so I have a feeling this one's going to be it's going to sell pretty fast. They usually do. I usually sell out really fast. So
awesome. Well, cool. Yeah. I'll link up to that. What are 3 ways that you can think of to jumpstart joy in your life, in the world, or in other people's lives?
3 ways. I obviously think that one of the ways you can do that is by showing up, by asking yourself, who am I and how do I want to show up in the world? And then doing that, showing up in a way that reflects who you are on the inside, because it brings joy to so many people when they can really see you and connect with you. So I think that's number 1. Number 2, another way that I think we can bring joy to our lives and other people's lives is to not participate in body shaming. I think that we often think of ourselves as victims of body shame and not perpetrators of body shame. And I think we're more often perpetrators than we are victims because we talk about our bodies in negative ways. I think if we could change that dialogue ourselves, it would change the conversations you have with your girlfriends. And that in itself would bring a lot of joy when you're not in a group just self-deprecating and talking about how you hate your bodies. It's like, don't do that. That's bad. Don't do that. So I think that's number 2. And number 3, I was going to say, go dig up some worms.
Amen.
Or get outside, right? Like get outside, be outdoors. That's something that's like super important for me and my family. We hike every Sunday. We've been doing it for about 1.5 years. We live in Vermont year round. Doesn't matter the weather. We hike every Sunday. It's what we do as a family. And it has been incredible for us and our family's sort of united happiness and our collective strength of how we're able to support each other. And we build, tenacity and resilience. And we talk about reverence for place and space. And it just brings a lot of joy to our family and to the people we meet on the trail and the community that comes from being outside. I think it's just really lovely. So those are my 3 things.
I love it. Thank you so much. I love that you brought the worms back.
Kind of had to.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Stasia, for being on today.
Thank you so much, Paula. It was super fun.
Stasia, thank you so much for being on the show. It was such a treat to have you on, and I just really love how you have shared your story and love seeing the insights that you've gotten from being a mom and the things that Raisha has taught you as well. It's just so heartwarming and wonderful. If you guys want to read up a little bit more, you want to find links to Stasia's Style School or any of the other things we've talked about, you can find the show notes for this episode at jumpstartyourjoy.com/Stasia, STASIA. And while you're there, of course, you're going to want to sign up for my weekly newsletter, where I'll be diving a little bit more into that inside-out congruency idea that Stasia so eloquently discusses. And we'll look at it from the inspiration, intention, and action steps that you can take to bring it into your own life in a new way. And you can find the sign up for that right there at the show notes, jumpstartyourjoy.com/Stasia. And next week on the show, I'm really excited to be sharing another look back episode, and this one is with Kelly Denethorn. I really am excited about sharing this episode because Kelly is a transgender advocate, an educator, and a math teacher. And I think you're really going to love what she has to say about her own male to female transition over the last year. So I hope you guys will come on back for that conversation. And until then, I hope that your days are filled with so much joy.